Welcome to Idea to Investment, the podcast where we dig into the exciting world of entrepreneurship and investment. We tell the stories of the tech creators doing innovative work and the investors who back them up. Along the way, unveiling the fascinating journey from the birth of an idea to scoring crucial investment. We'll highlight the voices of entrepreneurs, showcasing their grit and creativity, all while gaining insight from the investors who believed in those dreams. Get ready to be inspired, stay informed, and stay tuned as we explore the awesome collision of ideas and investments. Idea to Investment is sponsored by TD Ferrera Wealth Advisory Group.
I'm Kim Parker. I'm President and CEO of Food Security Structures Canada.
And full disclosure, Kim and I are friends. Kim and I have worked together, and I know what an exceptional person Kim is and how much Kim loves to hear herself talked about in the third person. Doesn't she, Kim?
Oh, yeah. Kim likes that. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Ken. It's just such a pleasure spending time with you today. So.
Let's get right into it with the pitch. So I need you to imagine that I have buckets of money to invest in something very special. Give me the 60-second pitch for Food Security Structures, Kim.
So Food Security Structures Canada is an agricultural technology company. We focus on being able to grow food anywhere in the world, regardless of location and climate. We use a specially designed structure that can withstand anything Mother Nature throws at it. Inside the structure, we focus on vertical aeroponic growing with a very special lighting system to allow us to grow high yields of diverse crops all year long and really meaningfully address food insecurity here in Canada and around the world.
So, Kim, take us back to the beginning. What was what's the origin story for Food Security Structures? Where did this all start?
So we're just into our sixth year. So 6 years ago, my business partner, Greg Whiteside, reached out to me when he became aware of some technology that had been used around the world for housing. It's a fiber reinforced polymer unit that is modular and easy to assemble on site. And the manufacturer was looking to branch out in agriculture. And Greg saw the application of this being able to tackle some of the severe climate locations that we have here in Canada, particularly in the north, but also because of the modularity of it, he saw that there was an application potentially for urban applications, in the cities. So, he is the tech guy of the company, and he reached out to me and he said, I need a business partner that knows business, communication, business development. Would you be interested in joining me in bringing this innovative agricultural system here to Canada? And of course, I got very excited about that, thought that was a really great opportunity. But then also to look at it to say, if we're taking a structure into community, can we then take it a next step and make sure that the systems inside the unit provide maximum crops, maximum results with minimal resources? And that's the key, that there's been many controlled environment agricultural systems that really the energy consumption on them have made them less than viable. And that's where there's a challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when most of us think of technology, Kim, we probably don't think of agriculture. But talk about the technology that's involved here. Like what is it about the agro tunnel that makes it so unique, so advanced?
Yeah, so what's really special about it is that we went right back to the beginning. When you're creating an agricultural system, we thought about many of the systems that are deployed out there where you're repurposing buildings, repurposing shipping containers, different things like this. And we applaud people for trying to repurpose technology whenever you can. But what we found is that they really didn't create that optimum growing space. They had climate control issues. And so we looked at all of the technology that was available to combine good basic growing practices with innovative technology. So again, the highest yields per square foot that we could look at, being able to go vertical plane as opposed to just a horizontal plane, looking for those efficiencies with the lightings as well. Our lights are 24 volt DC, so that allows us to go off grid. So that's a big part of the project that we're working on with the University of Western, is to be able to use photovoltaics, agrivoltaics to capture the power of the sun to run the agri-tunnel. So we aren't at the mercy of the sun as many greenhouses are. We are actually capturing that power in an enclosed environment where we can truly control temperature, humidity, everything that we need to make the plants happy.
So is the agri-tunnel entirely self-contained?
It is. It is. It's completely sealed. It is a oval shape, so it's a rounded, smooth shape. And part of that helps with the airflow. So we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for airflow. It also provides a reflective surface. So as the light is in this space, it's bouncing around. And so we're not losing light up to massively high ceilings or things. We're in a very tight area that is very focused on the plants and making sure that they are receiving everything that they need to maximize their growth and maximize their yields.
So if anybody is watching the video portion of this, they will see that Kim is actually inside the agri-tunnel as we speak with a large array of plants behind you.
Yes, this is one of our strawberry walls. This is one of the research walls we are working. This is actually a really unique Italian variety of strawberry. It's a brand new variety. It actually just has a number assigned to it. It doesn't even have a name yet. And we are working on it again with high yields on a vertical plane and on the vertical wall.
So are you limited in what you can grow inside the agri-tunnel?
It's a good question. We often get asked that. People ask us some wild and crazy crops, say, can we grow this? And what we work back from is we can recreate pretty much any growing environment that you want here. As I like to put it, we can create the plant's happy place. The question then becomes, just because we can grow something, should we grow it? So, there's no economies of scale. We're never going to be able to hit the price point of growing wheat or corn or, any of the field crops that you see the farmers putting in. Can we do them? Yes, but they're not going to be profitable inside of this type of environment. What we see is this is an opportunity to work with those traditional field crops, take the crops that are very sensitive to climate change, have high water needs, things that we can bring inside, grow all year long, and have a constant food supply from them. And, again, just empower those farmers to keep doing that great outdoor cropping that we need with those big field crops. So are we limited? Generally not, but it really does come back to, but is it viable? Is it a smart idea? Great opportunity, a great example of this is potatoes. We get asked, can we do root vegetables? And we actually do have a root vegetable system that we've designed that can grow potatoes, carrots, onions, turnips, beets, all of these great root vegetables. What becomes important in that conversation, though, is that I would never grow those crops down here in southwestern Ontario because they're plentifully available outside. Our growing season is long enough that we can grow those crops. They store really well. And so price point, they're usually fairly low price point. Down here, what are you paying, $2 or $3 for 10 pounds of potatoes? In the far north, our research has shown some of the northern stores, and we have some examples of this, 5 potatoes were $25. So now all of a sudden, a root vegetable system makes financial sense. And again, we work with our communities, we work with our growers in those communities to look at what are the best crops to be growing for them. What does the community want to eat as well? And we let that guide the conversation. So
how impactful could a food security structure in a northern community be? Are we talking about, the ability to no longer need to import fresh vegetables and fruits from southern communities?
I think we'll always need to import some things. So we're never going to grow at scale watermelons or things like that. But if we can reduce the dependence on imports in the north, as well as here in other areas of Canada, and to be able to be more self-sustaining within a community. I think we all saw during COVID the number of empty shelves that, the trucking system of bringing things in from thousands of kilometers away, it's a fragile system. And it's also not economically viable necessarily, and it's not necessarily the healthiest food when something's been on the back of the truck for days and days and days. So what we're looking at is being able to provide better quality food into the north, addressing food security, which is the availability of food, but also food sovereignty, to also have control of your own food and planting what you want to eat, not necessarily just what's available and what you can afford, but really getting down to what is it that you want to have in your diet and how does that fit into your cultural perspective on what's the appropriate things to be eating. So there are many things that we're looking at helping stabilize with that. I've got a really great story I can share with you about that, in the fact that when we look at that nutritional value, especially in the far north, my husband and I actually lived and worked in Fort McMurray for a number of years. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I had to get used to very quickly was that, down here in Southwestern Ontario, sometimes I look at the best before dates. Sometimes I forget about it. Well, up in the north, you never forget to look, because often a best before date is 1 or 2 days later. That's considered fresh. Wow. So when you go to the far north, often they're receiving things that are maybe considered fresh for a couple of days. Now, again, we all know about best before dates. Is it actually still good after that? All the rest of it. What I would suggest, though, is how fresh is that food if it's gone past its best before date? Is it optimum quality? And what's happened with the nutritional value in it? So to me, those are the key pieces, that if you're spending your hard-earned money on produce, you want to make sure it tastes good, that it's fresh, that it has the nutrition that you're looking for in that. And one of the crops we're working with that we're pretty excited about is a leafy green that grows really well in the wall. We've been testing it now for about 6 weeks, and we're just so excited about it. We were looking at it online the other day. A cup of these greens cooked has 9 grams of protein.
Wow.
So a leafy green with protein. The opportunity to help really address nutritional density as well is part of what we're looking at. It's not just large quantities of food, but large quality of food. So, yeah.
Yeah. This is something that clearly could, change many, many lives. Obviously, you mentioned Greg Whiteside, your vice president and chief technology officer. Clearly, he saw the potential for something really important. Let's talk about what it is in your background, though, that made Greg think, okay, I need to reach out to Kim Parker because she's the person that can take this to the next level. What is it about your past, do you think, that made Greg contact you?
Wow, that's a great question. I think a couple of things that have come up, as we've been working together over the years. One, we knew each other. We've known each other for many years. Greg knew my background, that I had worked in northern communities. I had connection in northern communities. I had firsthand experience in a northern community, seeing what food insecurity looks like when you're in a fly-in community. So he knew I had that perspective. I do have a Métis heritage. It is something that informs my life. I was not raised in an Indigenous context, but as an adult, it's something that I have learned about and educated myself about and explored. So having that perspective of really how we bridge that gap between southern communities and northern communities, different cultural gaps, how we open dialogue it was really important, I think, in that conversation. We're not going into any community anywhere to go and fix people. We're going in at an invitation from a community or an individual who is seeking a solution. And we're opening that conversation to see if our solution is is the right match for them. But it's very important that as we're going into a community or working with a potential grower, a farmer, that we're having that dialogue and that we are empowering them to be successful by offering our tools that we're going forward. I think Greg also knew, having worked for a number of companies over the years, my background is in communications, marketing, sales, business structure. And he felt that obviously to be able to move technology forward, you need that partner that understands the business side of things. So those are the things I think he saw as we were going forward. So, yeah.
One of the other important ingredients that you need to move things forward is cash. The podcast is called Idea to Investment. So let's get to that part of it. At what point, or was it right from the very beginning, did you know that this is going to probably need significant investment to get this to the point where it can actually change some communities and change people's lives?
Yeah, that's a great question because right from the start, we knew that this is not an inexpensive product. This is a commercial structure. The technology that in it, while we continue to work to bring the price down because we want to make it more accessible to more people and more communities, it is a commercial farming piece of equipment. So it's right up there with one of the large tractors you see out on the farms, the commercial buildings that you see on a farm. So right from the beginning, we knew that there would need to be some injection of cash. Over the years, we have bootstrapped everything. Greg and I were able to move things forward until the point about a year ago when some opportunity, and we're very excited to partner with the University of Western on an application for a competition grant. It's called the Homegrown Innovation Challenge. The challenge is focused on bringing home the production of berries seasonally all year long here in Canada. Right now, Canada imports more than 85% of its berries. So this challenge is specifically focused on how can we bring that production home. These walls are a perfect example of what we're doing to address that. We were one of 11 teams who won that challenge grant. There are 11 teams across Canada working on this challenge. So that provided a real injection of cash. That helped. That got this unit up and running. At the same time, we were very grateful to receive some funding through a FedDev fund through Tech Alliance here in London. We are so grateful to be able to work with them. They are just phenomenal partners. And through that grant, it allowed us to put some business modeling, marketing tools, different things in place over the last year to help us share the message. And I think that's the big thing too, is understanding that you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't get the message out, you're the best kept secret. So the funding through Tech Alliance has really helped us put strategy around that. So those two injections of cash were really key at that time. We're now at a scaling stage now that, we've had proof of concept, we have successful results. We have white papers coming out through the university, validating the data that we already had and already knew about our yields and our crop production and our energy consumption. But now to have a third party academic institution with the wonderful reputation that the university, Dr. Joshua Pierce that we're working with and his team, that validation, it's not just our opinion on what the numbers look like. We have a third party partner that's going to be able to provide all of that statistical backup on all of our systems as well. So right now we're really we're very excited about being able to scale, to be able to take and commercialize the unit at a much bigger scale. We're hoping that in the next little while to be able to secure a partner that can help us take this unit and scale it to hundreds across Canada within the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, you know what? It seems to me, and I'm sure this must have occurred to you as well, that we're talking about feeding communities. We're talking about something that could change communities right across the country. And we're talking about something that requires significant investment. It feels like this would be a natural fit for a government to get involved in this. Has this raised the interest of any levels of government yet, Kim?
Yes. And so the challenge has been that within this sector, it's a fairly new sector, controlled environment agriculture is an offshoot of what you would have considered like greenhouse growing in the past. And it's different because you're not using the sun to heat your unit or cool your unit. Your plants are not using sunshine. So it's different than greenhouses. Because of that, though, and because the technology has just fairly recently evolved, like in the last 5 to 10 years, it's an area that was still considered fairly high risk by very risk-averse government departments. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing now is that the technology has stabilized and the interest from the government has increased. We're seeing that there are benchmarks now of what a successful growing system looks like. And when we look at that system and we're talking to the government now, we have that proven track record that has their attention. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like having, the having Western University to kind of vouch for what food security structures is doing and to back it up with data, does that not go a long way to showing governments, look, this is not just a concept, this is a proven solution to one of this country's biggest problems?
Yeah, I agree. And that was why this project is so exciting for us, because the that partnership has been critical for one of the challenges I think the sector has had for many, many years is people's perceptions of their results and the consumer not knowing the right questions to ask. So what is good water consumption? What is good electrical consumption? What is good yield per plant? So all of these standard questions that experienced farmers know that that's the basis of making good farming decisions is yield per acre, water consumption, cost of inputs, all of these basic things that every farmer out there will tell you is the core to their business. We didn't have the benchmarks. Each different company would tell you what their results were, but I don't think the potential consumer, the potential buyer really had the benchmarking to say, but is that good or is that bad? Is that average? And to understand what that meant. And we're hoping that not only will this research help our company validate our data, but it will help start to provide those benchmarks so that as customers are reviewing different systems, and we always encourage people to look at different products so that they understand the strength of the decision that they're making. They have those questions to ask. They have the right data to use as benchmarks. So yeah, the partnership with Western, while being incredibly fun and incredibly from an innovation standpoint, from a business standpoint, it's been just critical. And we're just so glad to be working with them up here. So yeah.
What is your long-term vision for food security structures? At what point would you be able to sit back and go, wow, I think we've really accomplished something here?
I think for me, it has always been about and will always be about feeding people. So to understand what that looks like going forward, to make sure that as we're growing, we're always keeping that vision that this is about feeding people, this is about feeding communities, this is about stabilizing production. And so for me going forward, that's my vision, is how many more people can we feed? How many more of these units can we get out into the community? Can we get the price tag down on the unit as low as possible without compromising quality? Can we get that price tag down so that we can get more of these out? So we can get one of these in every community, so we can get multiple of these in urban settings so that we can address those areas of the city that are often called food deserts, because there's no place locally where people can go and buy fresh produce. And so to look at that, to say every community should be able to grow their own food locally, to feed their community, to feed, and not everybody is a gardener, that's okay. But knowing that in every community, there are going to be people that say, yeah, I want to be that person that's doing the growing. Some other people might be able to, just the folks that say, yeah, I'm the good one that's good to buy it and eat it. So looking for those opportunities as forward. And for me, that's really going to be when I can step back and say, this has got the momentum where people are actively feeding their communities, and food security is something that they have more control of in their community.
All right. Well, it is time for my favorite question of the podcast. If you, Kim, could go back to the very beginning of this, go 6 years ago, as you're just starting out on this journey, and give yourself one piece of advice that may have changed things for you for the better, what would that piece of advice be?
I think the advice would be bold. Be bold and be brave. We are often so afraid to make mistakes, and creating that environment where it's okay to fail fast. Push the envelope, try things. If it doesn't work, pivot. And I know after COVID, everybody hated that word pivot, but it is so still applicable for an innovation company. Push the envelopes, don't be afraid. And I think as a company that started, we actually started the 10 months before COVID hit. So during that time of the first waves of COVID, we were all so afraid of everything. That I think permeated our business, that we were timid. We wanted to make sure everything was perfect before we tried things. Now we just barrel through, give it a try. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, change it. Try it again, hit it again, plant more crops. Just push the envelope. Don't be afraid, be brave. That would be probably my advice if I could go back to, 6 years ago, to give ourselves the advice is don't hold off until it's perfect. Just do it. Just be brave.
That. Well, Kim, I got to tell you, I'm super impressed that you have not once in the entire time we've been talking reached behind you, grabbed a berry, and popped it in. I would definitely have been doing that.
It is tempting on any given day. However, my operations manager here would probably give me a 30 eye for it. Every berry that's coming off the wall is being weighed and is part of the data research. So snacking is frowned upon, but yeah, we all do it. So it's all good. It's all good.
Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Ken. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to keeping in touch in the future.
My sincere thanks to Kim Parker, President and CEO of Food Security Structures, for sharing the work that they're doing. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit foodsecuritystructures.ca. Idea to Investment is sponsored by TD Ferrera Wealth Advisory Group and is made possible by Tech Alliance of Southwestern Ontario. If you'd like to learn more about Tech Alliance and the resources available to entrepreneurs and startups, go to techalliance.ca. My name is Ken Eastwood. Thank you so much for joining me.